Good evening and welcome to Straight Talk. I'm your host, Eugene Chan, and tonight's guest is Mr. Kenneth Fok Kai Gong. He is the Vice President of the Sports Federation and the Olympic Committee of Hong Kong. He is active in community service, especially in sports development. He's also the Vice Chairman of the Elite Sports Committee and a member of the Sports Commission of the Hong Kong SAR government. He has been the Hong Kong chef de mission, leading our delegation to several previous Olympic Games during the Youth Olympic Games and the last Olympic Games in Rio in 2016. Yes. We have invited Kenneth tonight to talk about the Olympics, which is an iconic global sporting event. As we know, it is held every 4 years. The last one was in Rio 2016, and the 2020 Games is in Tokyo, which is postponed due to COVID. Olympics is not just a game for the athletes. It's a powerful way of uniting people. Tonight, we want to find out, will Hong Kong can-do spirit be reignited as our delegation participates in the game at the end of this week? So welcome, Kenneth.
Thank you, Eugene. It's very happy to be here tonight.
Thank you. Let's start to talk about the history of the Hong Kong Olympic Games. And as you know, Olympic has a special life in the life of the Hong Kong people. Yes. As you know, you see people gathering around the big screen to watch events and all that. What is your view of this game in Tokyo? I mean, how important is it to Hong Kong?
Well, I think it's important for viewers to know a little bit about history.
Yep.
You know, as you mentioned, Hong Kong is in a very special place.
Yes.
Hong Kong, previously before '97, it was a colony of Britain, and now, of course, we have returned to the mainland China. In terms of a sporting landscape, we're in a very unique place. The Sports Federation Olympic Committee of Hong Kong was set up in 1950, and we were recognized by IOC as a territory back then in 1951.
Some 60 years ago.
And the first Olympic Games we participated in under Hong Kong was 1952. Back then, we only had 4 athletes representing Hong Kong. You know, fast forward this time to 2021. We are now competing under the flag of Hong Kong, China. And this year, we are sending a total of 46 athletes, which is the biggest delegation ever since the handover. So this is interesting period of, you know, Hong Kong as SAR. You know, to be honest, we only have 7 million people. And if we compare to other regions or even other countries of a population of 7 million people, we're not doing too badly. We're actually doing quite well with the numbers of participants and also medals. You know, the first medal we got was 96
yes.
In windsurfing, Lei San, and everyone knows
that, yes.
You know, she's a household name. 8 years later, we got silver medal in table tennis. And then 8 years later after that in London, Lei Wai-si, in cycling, we got bronze medal. So looking back at the history, we're not doing too bad. And this time in Tokyo, it's especially meaningful because, as you mentioned, you know, the Olympics has never been postponed. It's been canceled a few times, but due to world wars. Fingers crossed we won't have one of those again. But pandemic, it really was the first time. Even the Spanish flu, they didn't postpone the Olympics back in 1920. But 100 years later, we have a postponement. But really, as you mentioned, the can-do spirit. I've spoken to a lot of athletes. They of course, affects them. You know, they don't train at peak level for 4 years. They slowly ram up. And suddenly they receive the news of postponement. I mean, they are taking it very positively. You know, they're re-strategizing. They are looking to really go for a medal this time. So we have a good chance, yes. Eugene. I think we're in a good shape, and most of the delegations are already in Tokyo, and I think this is a special moment in Olympic history for Hong Kong.
Right, Kenneth, I mean, I'm sure the viewers and I will be watching the news, and there was a recent ceremony where the flag presentation is to the team, and I understand this year it's already been announced who are the 2 flag bearers for us on the opening ceremony on the 23rd of July.
Yes.
And who are they?
Jie Yingxue from badminton and Zhang Galong from fencing.
Right.
And I think the viewers would be interested to know why are there two? Right? There are two.
There used to be one.
There used to be one. And as you mentioned in your opening statement, I think the Olympics is more than just sporting event. It's more than just 2 weeks of top competition. I think we would like to, or the Olympic movement would like to send a positive message through the games throughout the world. And one thing, of course, is equality.
Right, so gender equality. Yes.
This is very important under Thomas Bach, the current president of IOC, his Olympic 2020 agenda. I think besides fair play and top-tier competition that we are used to, I think through the Olympics we are, the message of gender equality and also, and actually, to be frank, helping people in needs. I think this is not the first time, but Olympic Committee started a refugee team. So people with no nationalities, they also have a chance to partake in this top-level competition. So I think these are the message that, besides, the viewers will look for the intense competition.
Right.
But I think these messages are important to tell the public as well.
Right, Kenneth, I mean, I'm sure the viewers will see that you're in the Hong Kong team uniform here, which I specifically asked for it, because I would say that in the past, we have different leaders leading the sports era, and especially with you as a young person, it gives us a lot of hope for the future.
Well, yeah.
And also, you're already the vice president of the Olympic Committee. Can you tell us what exactly does the Olympics Committee do in Hong Kong?
Well, I think two folds. I mean, first of all, known each other for a while.
Yes.
Young, still quite, still in a youthful stage. Let's put it this way. Yes. I've been involved since 2009. I think the main work, of course, people would know, is to bring the Hong Kong team abroad to competition. I think besides the Olympics, let's not forget there's also Asian Games. Actually, to us, Asian Games is even tougher because it's got more people. We sometimes send upwards of 300, 400 athletes to Asian Games. So there's a lot of work involved there. And secondly, I think we are kind of an umbrella organization for 80 different so-called national sports associations in Hong Kong. So the individual sports, table tennis, swimming, tennis, etc., etc. So we also, there's, I wouldn't use the word governing, but we also, the sports community, serving the interests of the sports community in Hong Kong. And thirdly, I think it's important also for us to spread the message. So we are entrusted with the responsibility by the IOC to spread the message of Olympism and to organize events such as Olympic Day, Olympic education, and we have Olympic Academy. We give talks about sports development. So these encompasses what the committee does. But of course, at the moment, the most important job in front of us is to organize well our Hong Kong team to fight in Tokyo. I think this is the most important thing.
Yeah, since you mentioned about our fight, I'm sure the viewers and also families of the athletes will be a little concerned because in Hong Kong, we're now getting better with our COVID control.
Yes.
But if you look at Tokyo, I was reading, there are over like 1,300 COVID infections daily, and some of the athletes has been tested positive. And actually, recently, the top Australian male tennis player is tested positive.
Yes.
Will this game continue, given that, people are there, but what if, the infections get worse or getting uncontrolled? And not to mention, 80% of the Japanese population want it to be cancelled or postponed. What is your view on that?
Well, I think, of course, from the Hong Kong team's perspective, our concerns and our protection for the health of athletes is number one priority. But let's not forget also the other side of the coin, which is a lot of our athletes, they've trained years or decades for this chance. And if they were denied the chance to compete, I think at the same time, it will be very unfair to them. Eugene, this is a very fine balance.
Yes.
No one has a crystal ball to say what's going to happen. And at this stage in time, we are seeing the openings in 5 days' time, on the 23rd. So personally, of course, I'm monitoring the situation very closely. I'm also concerned. We're seeing reports of possible positive infections in Tokyo. But at this point, I believe that the authorities and also our team officials within Tokyo has the capacity and experience to deal with it. And at the moment, we know there's a comprehensive playbook.
Right.
And there's a set of rules and regulations in place in order to curb the infections or to stop the spread,
Right.
basically.
Yeah, Kenneth, with our 46 athletes over there and some people supporting them, do we have in place any special support for them over there from the Hong Kong side?
I think from the performance side, we actually have quite an exciting initiative this year.
Right.
You know, as some viewers may not know, every Olympics, there's a limited of quota of supporting staff that could live in the village. And because Hong Kong, we are, you know, it's our largest team, but in the grand scheme of things, we're 40 athletes, it's not the biggest team. So we don't have that many support staff that could go. And this time, because of Tokyo, we started a new initiative. We started a Hong Kong Support House,
Right.
Hong Kong Support Center
Right.
outside the village. So we rented a place in conjunction with Sports Institute. They're sending 14 staff, including physiotherapy, even psychologists.
Just in case they need some support.
Yes, they will need support. I think now we are really sending a support center. So, you know, in Hong Kong, we have very good system of support. But once you're in competition, you want the same level of support. And that's what we're doing this time. So this support center will be in operation. Hopefully, it will help every little bit for them to get them their medal.
Now, Kenneth, it's about coming up to the break. But after the break, I'm going to ask you, because this year we know that there won't be any live spectators to the sports. And as you know, we played sports before.
Yes.
We love to be cheered by our fans.
Yes.
So after the break, we're going to talk about how we are going to help our Hong Kong team.
Sure.
Right, let's go for a break and we'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Welcome back, and we have been talking to Mr. Kenneth Fok of the Hong Kong Olympic Committee, and we have been discussing the Tokyo Olympics, which is going to happen in a few days' time.
Yes, yes.
Kenneth, before the break, I've brought up an issue that in this year's Olympics, there won't be any live spectators.
Yes.
It's going to be quite an anticlimax for the sportsmen. I'm sure we played sports before.
Yes, yes.
How are we going to help our team? I'm most concerned about Hong Kong team. I want Hong Kong team to do well. Except I know that this year the Hong Kong government is going to provide free coverage to all the channels.
Yes. I think this is a very important move. I think let's talk about the broadcasting. I mean, I think the government has policies to push sports and to popularize sports, and I think TV plays a large role. Media plays a large role. And previously, you know, it's maybe one TV station who covers it, but this time the government has decided to purchase the broadcasting right and give it free of charge to all the different stations, which I think is important.
Yes.
I think it's important because each station they have their own fans or their own way of interpreting the sports. So this time I expect more people will be watching the Olympics overall. And I know I've spoken to athletes. I mean, they'll be in empty stadiums, but because the government has done this initiative, they know that, you know, Hong Kong people will be cheering them on through the TV, and us as a committee, we want to convey all the messages of best wishes and well wishes from our citizens in Hong Kong. I think that's the least we can do. And second tier, I think besides the TV viewership, luckily Hong Kong, we have the pandemic quite under control at the moment. Luckily, fingers crossed.
Yes.
And I feel that as a Olympic committee, we need to do something on the ground. So on the 23rd, so the opening night, we'll be partnering with West Kowloon. And we'll have a viewing as well as you can call it a viewing party or a show.
That's beautiful, yes.
To you know, inviting, I'll have people from 18 districts.
Oh.
Each district coming, you know, sports fans to cheer us on. And the images will be fed back to the TV stations, and everyone will see, you know, Hong Kong, it's really, you know, vibrant and ready to go. I think it's important.
Yeah. Thank you for bringing that to reality.
I think it's important. This is part of our work to promote the sports message. Yeah. So I think it's not just the result. I think it's the process important in sports. You know, it's not just who gets the medal, but how they got there. Exactly. And I think this we need to show the people.
No, you mentioned earlier in the first part, every 8 years we will tend to get a medal. And realize in 2012 we got a bronze medal. So who are our medal hopefuls this year?
Well, I think there are many. Unfortunately, in 2016, when I was chef de mission, I wasn't able to bring back medals then. But then back then, I noticed one thing. We have a much broader athlete base, as in the results come from quite a lot of different sports. And they're young. They were very young back then. Us fencing team, they were young. Give them 5 years now, they are fully prepared. So this time, of course, cycling, right? Sarah Lee, everyone, household name.
Yep.
We have high hopes for her. Swimming, this is very new for Hong Kong. Siobhan Bohe, I noticed her 10 years ago in the university games.
Okay.
She's just been going up and up,
Okay.
so everyone should. And also fencing. We have a very strong fencing team, both men and women. Women-wise, Vivian Kong.
Yep.
Vivian is actually a world champion by her own right. So she has every chance in Tokyo, and she's young, she's energetic, and even interestingly, karate. Karate is a new addition for Tokyo. So Grace Lau Mo Sang, so Grace Lau, she is also a contender.
When you say karate, should Japan would take all the medals?
Well, we don't know. This is not this is all up for grabs. And also gymnastics.
Yep.
Gymnastics. So these are the events that maybe everyone should be glued to their TV.
Right. And I've also, I think our Hong Kong government is doing something very good for the sports industry. Apart from getting our broadcasting right, we are offering cash incentive or prizes.
Yes.
If you go and get a gold medal, you will be getting $5 million in prize money. A silver, 2.5 million.
Yes.
And a bronze, 1.25.
Yes.
Although one will say it's not enough to buy a flat, but for a sports person, what a wonderful incentive.
It is wonderful. I think twofold. If you look at purely the prize money, it's actually much better than most our neighboring countries, even US and Europe. So it's quite high. So this is a wonderful incentive for athletes. And secondly, you mentioned the government, but actually government behind has actually worked very hard with the commercial sector to get the support. So another message I would like to bring out is actually we're seeing more commercial participation in our sporting landscape. So it's no longer just government supporting sports. So I think the message I would like to say here is, through the Olympics, we are seeing that people of Hong Kong love the Olympics, and people of Hong Kong love participating in sports. So there is an angle for more commercial entities, companies, to support the sporting ecosystem in Hong Kong, including our athletes.
Kenneth, may I suggest one thing? Since you are you're in the committee, why not we give the incentive extended to those who have also made the finals? To give them like $200,000 just as a token of appreciation, because even getting there is very tough.
Yeah, it is getting tough. So definitely I'll suggest with the to the government and also with the commercial sector to see how this could be better arranged. But I think it's a great incentive, and it shows that the whole city is behind them.
Yes, Kenneth, we mentioned until now that this is more than a sporting event.
Yes.
And you have been in the sports industry actually all your life, since your family is doing a lot of sports for Hong Kong and mainland and for the country. What do you think, how the sport can help our city, especially in Hong Kong? In the last few years, it's quite tough in many ways. How do you see it? How can we use sports to, as I always said, reignite our can-do spirit?
Let's take this question to a different context. I studied abroad. I studied in the UK for many years, and those who have been to the UK know how much sport is really woven into the social fabric. It's part of life.
Yes.
It's what gets people together, what bonds, father and son. They watch a game on the weekends. So again, I think sports in Hong Kong is important because over the past 2 years, it's been tough. We've seen social unrest, we've seen pandemic. First of all, we need good news. I think we need good news. That's number one. And number two, I really hope that people or families can participate in sports more, not just because of the healthy body, but I believe it can help them, to relieve stress, for the bonding, peer-on-peer bonding, peer-to-peer bonding, and also the social kind of positivity. I think this is what sports can give. When you go to a sporting event, it's always happy. You go to the rugby sevens, it's a happy occasion.
Exactly.
So I think this is the first level. But second level, I believe that sports can be an important contribution to Hong Kong's GDP as we move forward. We always talk about the Hong Kong. We need to be a diverse economy beyond the usual, tourism, beyond the usual finance
yes.
and tech now. I think sports could play a major role. So I think this is a point or the direction I believe the government or the society should be going. Not just as in just a sporting event by itself, but how to leverage on the sporting event to help economy, to help the tourism industry, to help the restaurant business. I think this is something that we could explore more.
Okay. I also read in the papers that, Mrs. Carol Lam has said that the government has injected over $700 million into the Hong Kong Sports Institute.
Yes.
As a member of the sports sector, are we giving you enough or always welcome more?
Well, of course, not just the sports sector. Every sector will always welcome more. But I think to reflect that, I think the Sports Institute has done an excellent job. At the moment, we have over 20 Tier A elite sports and 13 Tier B elite sports. And we have over 500 full-time athletes. And this reflected with the medals we get, So I think this is a good continuation of our results. But I think we must look beyond, not just for the elite athletes. I think we should look at the whole sporting industry itself. So, the government is always going to be the lead entity to support sports. But I hope there should be more, as in commercial side, the commercialization of sports, to help us go further. And let's not forget, we're not just Hong Kong. Now, we must integrate into the Greater Bay Area. And I know the mainland China government, they have lots of ambition for sports industry development. So we should jump on the boat earlier and really try to push it that way.
Kenneth, you have advocated commercialization of sports. And how difficult is it going to be in Hong Kong? It sounds great. How is it going to happen? Will it happen?
I think it's about time we should relook at the sports policy and really think how we could do more under, say, the 14th five-year plan.
Right.
The current three stem of sports policy, the elite side, the mega event side, and also the popularization side, has been written on paper since 2003. It's almost 20 years. Lots of change since 20 years ago. And I think maybe through this Olympics and through this experience, we can look at it and see where we should continue. I think commercialization is one thing. And I think with COVID, I think we should really look at also education, how sports can really be in school. Can the school curriculum, syllabus, can have more sporting integration. So these are things that we should really seriously look at and plan for the next 5 to 10 years.
Right. So, Kenneth, thanks for being our guest tonight. We have been very privileged to hear your first-hand experience of the Olympics and how our team is doing. You have a very unique perspective because you've been there, I haven't. Your other half, Guo Ting, being a 4-time gold medalist, and your involvement in the development of the sports sector in Hong Kong. And I want to appeal to all of you in Hong Kong. Let's get behind our Olympic team and reignite our can-do spirit. Ken, shall we shout a slogan? Go Hong Kong team, get Hong Kong moving. Good night.
And goodbye.